Being seen is not the same as being found wanting. It was a shelter built by a child with materials available to her at the time. And you have outgrown it. Not because she was wrong to build it, but because you're not 9 years old anymore. And the shelter has become the ceiling. Children do not have the tools to say, this is one teacher's assessment of one day and it says something permanent about who I am or not. Children make meaning the only way that they can. You know how we are told there's a small girl in every grown woman and there's a small boy in every grown man? Sitting in your meeting, standing outside your opportunities, hiding our tears on the walk home, still asking the same question, am I good enough? So I want to take you back to a specific day. So this day I was 9 years old and I was part of a musical group at my church. I was going to the Salvation Army Church as I grew up. So we played tambourines, which is a musical instrument. And there were regional competitions that we used to participate in. And you didn't just show up to these competitions, you had to be selected. And only the best from the group would represent the church. And I wanted to be one of them. I had practiced, I had shown up, I had done everything I knew to do. And on the day of the selection, my name was called out. So when my name was called out, it was not quietly and not privately. It was called out from quite a distance, some yards away. And it sounded like it was screamed. And before I could even process what was happening, everyone turned to look at me. And the reason my name had been called was to be told that I had not properly mastered the moves. And this was in front of everyone. I still remember the eyes, the way they looked at me, not with cruelty, but with pity. And something about those eyes and the pity in them has stayed with me longer than I care to admit. And even now, as I talk about it, I still remember how it felt. I left while everyone else stayed to perfect their moves for the competition, to prepare ahead of time. And I walked home alone. Home was about 2 kilometers. I cried all the way home. But I tried to hide the tears, because I did not want anyone on that road to ask me why I was crying. And I did not want anyone else to look at me the way they had just looked at me. So when I got home, I told my mom what had happened. And she told me not to worry about it, to stop crying, that there would be next year, there would be another opportunity. And eventually, after some time had passed, I stopped crying. But participating in that competition meant the world to me. I was just 9 years old. That was the world to me. And my mother remembers that story to date. Because she knows how much it hurt me. And what I did not know then, and what I could not have known at 9 years old, is that somewhere on that 2-kilometer walk home, a belief was being written. It was not in words, not consciously, but in the way that children make sense of things that hurt them. And the belief said, I'm not good enough. And that belief did not stay on that road. It came home with me. It sat with me through school, where I was always amongst the top students and still could not take compliments easily. I did not like to be complimented. I did not like to be called in front of the parade to be congratulated or to be given gifts or whatever it was. I just did not like it. It walked into every room where someone tried to celebrate me and made me tell them to stop. It stood outside every opportunity and made me wonder if this was really meant for me. It showed up in the bank job, like I told you last time, where her colleague had to pull me aside and tell me that my hard work alone could not get me far. And it showed up in the management role that I was acting on, already performing, and made me not apply for it. It has been in every room that I've ever walked into. And asking the same question it asked on that road, am I good enough? And for a long time, I thought the answer to that question was something I had to earn, something I had to prove, something that would arrive when achievements were significant enough. But achievements did not answer it. A first-class honors did not answer it. A promotion did not answer it. And years of results and recognition did not answer it. Because the question was never asking for evidence. And today, I want to talk about why. So welcome to season 2 of Rewire with Rose. We are still on the reflect phase of Rewire. And today, we go to the beginning. Not the beginning of your career, but the beginning of the pattern. Because everything we have traced in the last 3 episodes, the inner voice that you keep silencing, the achievements you cannot receive or admit, the role that you did not apply for, all of it has a starting point, a moment, a sentence said in a particular tone by a particular person in a particular room. And that is what we are finding today. I'm Rose, and we just found mine. So remember how we talked about Dr. Bruce Lipton, the Stanford scientist, and we have been drawing on his research in this season. He found that 95% of your daily life is run by your subconscious mind. But here is the part that we haven't yet talked about. And here is the part that I have not yet told you. That subconscious, that vast storage, the system running almost everything, it was built mostly before you turned 7 years old, and in some cases, before you turned 10 years. Before you had the cognitive tools to question what you are absorbing, Before you could say, wait, is this actually true? Before you had any say in what went in. And scientists call this imprinting. The nervous system, in moments of intense emotion, writes its experiences as permanent instructions. Not a lesson, not a suggestion, an instruction. And the intensity of the emotion is the pen. The stronger the feeling, the deeper the writing. A 9-year-old girl standing in a church hall, hearing her name being screamed across the room, feeling 100 eyes turning towards her, watching the pity flood into their eyes, and walking 2 kilometers home alone, hiding her tears. That is intense emotion. That is a nervous system writing as fast as it can. And what it wrote, she's been reading that ever since. Here is what I want you to understand about the child who built your cage. She was not being dramatic. She was not weak. She was not oversensitive. She was 9 years old. And she was doing the only thing that a 9-year-old nervous system knows how to do. She was making sense of something painful. And the sentence she made, the conclusion she reached, it was the most logical conclusion available to her in that moment. And it was that I was not good enough. And that is why they did not pick me. That is why they looked at me the way they did. That is what means when people look at you like that. She was not wrong to reach that conclusion. Again, she was just a child. Children do not have the tools to say, this is one teacher's assessment of one day, and it says something permanent about who I am or not. Children make meaning the only way that they can, with what they have, and in the moment they are in. And then the nervous system files that meaning away as protection, as survival, as remember this so it does not happen again. And it keeps that file. You know, like the way you store files in a computer, it keeps that file long after the moment has passed, long after the child has grown into a woman with a career and results and rooms she has earned the right to be in. The file stays. And it keeps whispering. Remember what happened the last time you thought you were good enough? So I want to ask you something. When you heard my story just now, did it stir something in you? It may not necessarily be tambourines, not necessarily a church, but a moment, a day, a specific feeling, a specific set of eyes, a specific sentence said in a specific tone that landed in a way that you never fully recovered from. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a parent comparing you to someone else or even to a sibling. Maybe it was a group that did not pick you. Maybe it was some friends that did not want you to be part of their friend group. Maybe it was someone laughing at you when you spoke. Maybe it was silence when you expected acknowledgement. The specific event is different for every person, but the mechanism is the same. Intense emotion, a nervous system trying to protect you, a belief written before you had the tools to question it, and a child who has been traveling with you ever since, sitting in there. You know how we are told there's a small girl in every grown woman and there's a small boy in every grown man? Sitting in your meetings, standing outside your opportunities, hiding our tears on the walk home, still asking the same question. Am I good enough? Now I want to talk about something that reframed everything for me. I had a preacher on TV, and I remember I was seated. And somewhere in the middle of what he was talking about, I sat up straighter, because something landed in a way I was not expecting it to. He said, if you choose not to live to your fullest potential, you are denying the world the capabilities God put in you. And I had grown up believing that humility meant staying small, that not claiming too much space was godly, that the 9-year-old girl who was told she had not mastered the moves should probably always check herself before she assumed she had. But this reframed it completely for me. What if staying invisible was not humility? What if it was in fact something closer to pride? The pride of protecting yourself from the risk of being seen at the cost of the people who needed what was in you. What if the little girl who walked home hiding her tears had been carrying something that was never just for her? What if the gifts placed in her, the leadership, the insight, the wisdom, the voice, were placed there for the people she would one day stand in front of? What if it was withholding from them, the people that she was meant to impact? That question changed something in me. And the change was not overnight. And I wouldn't say it was complete, but enough to take the first management position that I took. Enough to stop disappearing from rooms I had earned the right to be in. Enough to sit in front of a camera speaking to you today. and tell you about my 2-kilometer walk home that I have never really told anyone about publicly until today. The little girl is still with me. She still gets nervous sometimes. She still notices the pity in people's eyes when she does not want to see it. For example, she doesn't like being asked how she's faring when she's not unwell, because that could look like pity, and pity is a lesson she remembers. She still flinches slightly when someone speaks her name too loudly, but she's learning something she did not know on that road home. That being seen is not the same as being found wanting. That people who turn to look are not always looking with pity. Sometimes they're looking because of what she carries, because it's exactly what they came to find. So I want to say something directly to the child in you, the one who made a conclusion about herself or himself in a moment of pain, in a moment of intense emotion, before she had the tools to question it. She was doing her best. She was making sense of something that hurt her. And she deserves your compassion, not your frustration, and not your impatience, not the decades of you trying to push past her, without ever stopping to ask what she was actually protecting you from. She was protecting you. The cage she built was not really a prison. It was a shelter built by a child with materials available to her at the time. And you have outgrown it, not because she was wrong to build it, but because you're not 9 years old anymore. And the shelter has become the ceiling. So I believe, and I say this as someone still navigating this herself, that the work of adulthood is not to destroy what the child built. It is to thank her for keeping you safe, and then gently, deliberately, one room at a time, begin to outgrow it. So this week, find your tambourine moment, not the career pattern, and not the professional behavior. Go further back. Find the specific moment, the day, the room, the person, the eyes, where a belief about yourself was written before you add the tools to question it. Write it down, what you concluded about yourself. And then ask this question: is that conclusion still true? Note the question: was it understandable? It was. Note the question: did it make sense then? It probably did. But the question: is it still true now? Because the child who built the cage and the woman standing in front of you today or speaking in front of you today are not the same person. And the woman deserves to be free. The little girl on that road home, I see her clearly now. Her tambourine in hand, tears on her face, 2 kilometers between her and the only person who would tell her it would be okay. She thought she was walking away from something. She was walking towards everything. She just did not know it yet. And neither did I. And that is Rewire. I'm Rose. Thank you for being here. If this episode stirred something in you, share it with someone who is still living inside a conclusion that they reached about themselves a long time ago. Tell me, what did you tell yourself on your walk home? And remember, it may not have been a walk home. Maybe it was a classroom. Maybe it was a playground, and your friends were playing and excluding you. Maybe it was a teacher who scolded you before people. Maybe it was a parent who spoke very harshly to you. Or maybe it was It could have been anyone, but a time of intense emotion. Tell me about that time. Leave it in the comments if you can. No pressure. If you can't, write it for yourself because it's important. Next week, we will answer the question that I know you're already asking. If I can see the cage clearly now, why is it still hard to change? Why does knowing better never seem to be enough? So next week, we'll go into the mechanics of that. The science why understanding alone has never been the answer. And what actually begins to move a pattern that has been running since you are 9 years old or even younger. I will see you next Tuesday. Subscribe and engage with us on our social media platforms. All of them are Rewire with Rose.